Amidst the warmth and joy of Thanksgiving, let us share two bone-chilling tales that will forever taint this holiday of gratitude. Brace yourselves for a sinister twist on tradition, where the dark shadows of modern urban legends intertwine with the spirit of Thanksgiving, revealing horrors that lurk beneath the surface. Legend 1: The Crimson Harvest. In the quiet town of Ember Falls, nestled between rolling hills and whispering forests, a chilling urban legend unfolded beneath the facade of Thanksgiving traditions. The tale of the Crimson Harvest spoke of a sinister force that emerged every Thanksgiving, weaving a tapestry of horror that lingered in the shadows of the town's collective memory. As the last hues of autumn painted the landscape, the townspeople of Ember Falls prepared for their annual Thanksgiving festivities. Unbeknownst to them, a malevolent presence lay dormant, awaiting the opportune moment to manifest and plunge the town into darkness. The legend began with the disappearance of a young woman named Emily Winters, whose family had resided in Ember Falls for generations. Emily, known for her vibrant spirit and zest for life, vanished without a trace on a Thanksgiving night years ago. The town, unable to fathom the tragedy that befell one of its own, perpetuated the legend of the Crimson Harvest as a cautionary tale. On the eve of Thanksgiving, the air in Ember Falls shifted subtly. A sense of unease settled over the town as residents prepared their homes for the holiday. Unbeknownst to them, the crimson threads of the Crimson Harvest began to weave through the fabric of reality, connecting the present to the unsolved mystery of Emily's disappearance. The night unfolded like any other Thanksgiving, with families gathered around tables laden with feasts, laughter echoing through the cozy homes. As the clock struck midnight, a blood-curdling scream shattered the tranquility, sending shockwaves through Ember Falls. The townspeople, drawn by the chilling sound, rushed to the source, a dilapidated mansion at the edge of town, long rumored to be haunted. The mansion, known as the Winters Estate, bore witness to Emily's disappearance, its decaying walls harboring a secret that refused to remain buried. As the residents approached the mansion, they found the grand entrance adorned with crimson-stained roses, each petal glistening with an otherworldly sheen. The scent that emanated from the flowers carried a haunting familiarity, triggering a collective gasp of recognition. The legend of the Crimson Harvest had come to life. The doors of the mansion creaked open with an eerie wail, inviting the townspeople into its shadowy embrace. Fear and curiosity danced in their eyes as they entered the forgotten corridors, guided by the trail of blood-red roses that led to the heart of the mansion. The grand hall, dimly lit by flickering candlelight, revealed a macabre tableau. The room was adorned with a feast, the banquet table groaning under the weight of succulent dishes. Yet, the air was thick with an oppressive energy, and the once delectable aroma now carried a metallic undertone. In the center of the room lay Emily Winters, her figure ethereal and pale, surrounded by a pool of crimson liquid that mirrored the roses outside. She appeared untouched by time, suspended in a haunting limbo between life and death. The townspeople, overcome with shock and horror, recoiled at the sight. A disembodied voice resonated through the hall, recounting the tragic tale of Emily's disappearance. The legend unfolded before their eyes, the pact made by the Winters family with a spectral entity that promised prosperity in exchange for a sacrificial soul. The Crimson Harvest, it seemed, required the life force of a Winters descendant every Thanksgiving to sustain the town's prosperity. The mansion, once a symbol of opulence, had become a vessel for the malevolent force, its walls stained with the echoes of past harvests. As the realization dawned upon the townspeople, Emily's figure stirred. Her eyes, hollow and haunted, met theirs. The disembodied voice whispered a sinister ultimatum, a choice between embracing the Crimson Harvest to ensure Ember Falls' prosperity or resisting and facing the consequences. Panic gripped the residents as the mansion transformed, its walls closing in like a suffocating embrace. The feast, once enticing, warped into a nightmarish tableau of suffering. The townspeople, desperate and terrified, confronted the spectral entity that held their fate in its ethereal grasp. In a shocking twist, one brave soul, fueled by a primal instinct to protect their kin, stepped forward. The pact had endured for generations, but the cycle of horror would end that night. With a determination born of desperation, the townspeople rallied against the Crimson Harvest, unraveling the malevolent threads that bound their fates. As the entity recoiled, the mansion crumbled, its spectral influence shattered by the collective will of Ember Falls residents. The blood-stained roses withered, and Emily's figure dissipated into the ether. The legend of the Crimson Harvest, once a malevolent force that preyed on the town's prosperity, faded into obscurity. Ember Falls, forever changed by the harrowing events of that Thanksgiving night, faced the dawn with a mix of relief and sorrow. The Crimson Harvest had been vanquished, but the scars it left on the town's soul would linger, a reminder of the thin veil between the mundane and the malevolent. And so, As Ember Falls resumed its Thanksgiving traditions, the legend of the Crimson Harvest transformed from a spectral nightmare to a cautionary tale, a reminder that even in the midst of celebration, the shadows of the past could manifest in ways that defied comprehension. Legend 2: Feast of the Ravenous. In the remote town of Hollow Grove, where the autumn winds whispered through ancient oaks and the air crackled with an unsettling energy, there lurked a sinister tale that unfolded every Thanksgiving. The legend of the Feast of the Ravenous, whispered in hushed tones, spoke of a malevolent force that rose from the shadows to claim its grisly tribute. The story began with the unsettling history of the Hollow Grove Orphanage, a decaying structure nestled on the outskirts of town. Abandoned for decades, the orphanage bore witness to a tragedy shrouded in mystery. The tale spoke of a Thanksgiving night, long ago, when the orphans rebelled against the oppressive matron, resulting in a gruesome massacre that stained the halls with the blood of the innocent. As the years passed, the abandoned orphanage became a place of dread, its dilapidated walls echoing with the anguished cries of the past. Locals spoke of strange occurrences, flickering lights, ghostly apparitions, and an ominous feeling that gripped those who dared to approach. The legend of the Feast of the Ravenous unfolded every Thanksgiving Eve, as a spectral force awakened within the Hollow Grove Orphanage. The town, unaware of the malevolent presence that lingered on the outskirts, prepared for their holiday celebrations with a false sense of security. On one fateful Thanksgiving night, the air in Hollow Grove thickened with an unspoken dread. The townspeople, their homes adorned with festive decorations, gathered for the annual Thanksgiving parade. Little did they know that the Feast of the Ravenous had begun. As the clock struck midnight, the abandoned orphanage pulsated with an otherworldly energy. The windows, long shattered and forgotten, glowed with an eerie light that drew the restless souls of the orphans back from the abyss. Their hollow eyes, devoid of humanity, fixated on the unsuspecting town below. The Feast of the Ravenous unfolded in 3 chilling acts. Act 1: The Harrowing Parade. The ethereal procession of spectral orphans descended from the orphanage, their transparent forms gliding through the mist-shrouded streets. The townspeople, drawn by an irresistible force, watched in horror as the ghostly parade wound its way through Hollow Grove. The orphans, clad in tattered remnants of their once vibrant clothes, moved in silence. Their hollow gazes met those of the living, sending shivers down the spines of those who dared to lock eyes with the ravenous souls. The air crackled with a malevolent energy as the procession reached the town square. Act 2: The Sinister Banquet. The town square transformed into a nightmarish banquet hall, its cobblestone streets replaced by a spectral feast. Tables adorned with rotting delicacies materialized, and the orphans took their places, their spectral fingers poised over phantom plates. Unseen forces compelled the townspeople to join the gruesome banquet. They became unwilling participants, seated alongside the ghostly orphans as the Feast of the Ravenous unfolded. The air filled with the sound of phantom laughter and the clinking of ethereal cutlery. The feast, however, held a horrifying twist. As the townspeople bit into the illusory food, their senses deceived them. The taste that met their tongues was not one of festive delights but a metallic bitterness that hinted at the tragedy that befell the orphans on that accursed Thanksgiving night. Act 3: The Harvest of Souls. The climax of the Feast of the Ravenous arrived with a ghastly revelation. The orphans, their hunger unsated by the illusory banquet, turned their hollow gazes toward the living. The townspeople, now ensnared by the spectral force, felt an otherworldly compulsion to offer themselves to the ravenous souls. In a surreal dance of desperation and despair, the living willingly surrendered their souls to the spectral orphans. The air crackled with malevolent energy as the town square became a vortex of ethereal agony, the orphans feasting on the life force of the living. The legend spoke of a blood-red mist that rose from the town square, carrying with it the anguished cries of the lost souls. The Feast of the Ravenous culminated in a macabre crescendo, the town's residents left to wander the misty streets as empty husks, their souls claimed by the malevolent force that rose from the depths of the orphanage. The following morning, the town of Hollow Grove awoke to a chilling silence. The abandoned orphanage, its spectral banquet concluded, faded back into the shadows, awaiting the next Thanksgiving Eve to unleash its ravenous hunger once more. The legend of the Feast of the Ravenous persisted in whispers, a cautionary tale passed down through generations. Hollow Grove, forever marked by the malevolent force that lurked in the decaying halls of the orphanage, faced each Thanksgiving with a mix of fear and reverence for the spectral souls that hungered for the living. As the candles flicker, and the scent of roasted turkey fades, remember these cautionary tales, for they serve as a chilling reminder that even in the season of gratitude, malevolence can creep in unnoticed. Let the specters of these modern Thanksgiving legends haunt your thoughts and send shivers down your spine, forever altering the way you perceive this once hallowed occasion.